Hi everybody, what's up? My name is Juan. I am just one reader and I am here with a book tag. This time I am doing the My Pleasure book tag, which was created by Steve Partridge, and I think he did a really great job. He had a very original idea. He created 7 prompts revolving around experiences slash feelings in order to talk about some books. I was not tagged, I think. As far as I'm aware of, I have not been tagged, but I am doing this tag because this is great. So, question number 1, think. A book that made you think really hard. And I have chosen 3 of my absolute favorite books ever, and they are not only incredibly well written and very entertaining and very particular, but they also have one thing in common. They have made me think really hard, like really, really hard. And these are 3 books that I am finding myself constantly revisiting in my head. Like I am still processing them, even though one of them I read quite recently, but the other 2 I read like over a year ago, and I am still kind of figuring stuff out. So I love that experience. So the 2 that I read last year, no, the year before that, are these babies. 10th of December by George Saunders is my favorite short story collection that I have read so far. It is incredible. And the other one is Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. Both of these I actually read. Oh, all 3 of these actually I read because of the channel Stripped Cover Lit, which is one of my favorite things to watch ever, not just on YouTube, but just in life. I really love their recommendations. And the other one, the one that I read more recently, was American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. Again, these are all 3 books that if you haven't read them, I highly recommend them. They are incredibly fun and very special, very particular, but they all make you think like crazy. Question number 2. Número dos. Deux. Love. A book that broke or mended your heart. And I immediately thought of the perfect answer for this question because it is, first of all, it's a perfect novel for me. It's a perfect, beautiful object. It's a beautiful piece of art. And secondly, I think it is both. It is a book that breaks your heart and also heals it, like at the same time, simultaneously. And I don't know how this is possible, but I am talking about Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I actually read this book for the first time when it first came out, like on its publication date, and I didn't get it. I was very lukewarm on it. I thought it was a very weird story. I did not get it. I gave it like 2 stars. And then a couple years later, which must have been like 2 years ago, I read it again. I decided to give Uncle Neil a second chance, and this is one of my favorite books ever. It is a book that, if you really get it, if you really pay attention to it, and if it resonates with you personally, it can break you and heal you. Yeah, what can I say? It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Question 3, número 3, numéro 3, Eat. A book that nourishes you. Okay, I have chosen my 3 favorite books, probably of all time, or these are at least, it's very difficult, that question of what's your favorite book, it's impossible to answer, but if I'm being honest, these are 3 books that are probably my favorite books of all time because they nourish me. They are the books that I go to when I want to feel happy and joyful and satisfied, nourished. So the first one is kind of the obvious one. It's Harry Potter. This one is representing the entire series, of course, but the one that I've read the most, like by a great difference, is The Goblet of Fire, even though I think Order of the Phoenix is the better one. I think it's the best one. I immediately go for Goblet of Fire just for this book really nourishes me. It has everything that I want in a book, and I have revisited this book over 30 times. The other one is The Never-Ending Story. Oh, The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende or Michael Ende. German fantasy novel. If you have seen the movie, please don't pay attention to it. It is the worst adaptation and one of the worst movies that I've seen, period. But the book is the best fantasy I've ever come across in this way. It is beautiful, it is incredibly philosophical and intellectual, and it's just the best. And the other one that really nourishes me is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, another one of my top 3 favorite books. This is another series that I have read quite a few times, maybe not as much as, Harry Potter, of course, but I've read the series like 3 or 4 times. But the one that I keep coming back to is the first one, The Shadow of the Wind. It is just such a spellbinding, entrancing, beautiful, gothic, creepy, and joyful novel. I remember the first time I ever read this book when I was very, very young. I was still in middle school or in high school, I don't remember, but it just changed my life. Like when I read the first chapter of this book, which is the introduction to the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, that's just one of those things that I will remember forever. Question 4, quatre, laugh. A book that brought a little comic relief, not a little, a lot of comic relief, I think. I have chosen for you the 3 funniest books that I have ever read in my life. These are books that I was reading in public, and I made a fool of myself. I made quite an embarrassment of myself. I could not keep a straight face while reading this, even in public. These books killed me. The first one, Tina Fey's Bossy Pants, and I remember reading this when I was living in New York and riding the subway every morning and every night and reading this, and people just stared because, Then the second one is Miranda Hart's Is It Just Me? I love Miranda Hart. She is so awkward and so honest and so funny, and this book is like her. Like, this book is awkward and funny, and it's wonderful. And the other one is kind of a more cerebral, intellectual, more elegant kind of humor, but I cracked up like crazy. Woody Allen's Without Feathers. I love Woody Allen's humor, the way that he looks at the human condition and human experience is so clever and so original and imaginative. Question 5, numero 5, sex. A book that explores or contains sexuality that doesn't make you cringe. I actually went for a... Okay, so this is a short story collection, Fortune Smiles by Adam Johnson. And there is one very particular story in this collection that is about a pedophile. And it's pretty much the inner musings and the inner fantasies of these men trying to suppress or handle his urges. It sounds very cringe-inducing. It sounds terrible, but Adam Johnson is such a fantastic writer that he can take such a character as this one and make such a splendid and human story out of this. It is a beautiful story. It's not exactly cringe-inducing. It's not cringe-inducing at all, and it's just beautiful. A beautiful, beautiful story, and a beautiful collection. Question number 6, Rest. A book that gave you peace, reflection, or just calms you down. Well, I've chosen a book that is not necessarily any of those things, but it is a very... the writing style is very tranquil and very fluid. It feels like you, when you read this book, which by the way is Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff, when I read this book, I felt like it was not exactly language. It was more like melody, like music. Like there was this kind of river of sound overflowing and coming out of the page. And there were some beautiful passages in this book that I recall reading and just feeling like so calm and peaceful, and it's a meditative quality that this book has. The writing style is so elegant and so gorgeous and beautiful and precise, and that's what I like about a writing style such as this, that it kind of puts you under a trance. It puts you almost like it puts you to sleep, but not in a boring kind of way. It's like meditation. It's exactly like that. And the last question is question number 7, experience. A book that introduced you to a new subject or shifted your perspective. Well, I actually chose Apple of My Eye by Helen Hanff because this was my favorite book that I read last year in 2017. It is a wonderful, joyful book about New York City, and it opened up the genre of nonfiction. After reading this, I just realized how affected I can be by nonfiction, by a memoir, or by well, this is kind of a memoir slash city guide thing. Yeah, so after reading this, I just really crave nonfiction. So guys, that was it. That was the My Pleasure book tag. Thank you very much, Steve Partridge, for creating this wonderful set of prompts. And if you, watching this video, you right there, you, yeah, looking at you, if you haven't been tagged, or if you want to do this, consider yourself tagged, just as I didn't care about not being tagged and did it anyways. Do so as well. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.